You know, we're living in a society.
But they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. It's a series of tubes.
We're supposed to act in a civilized way.
Allison, can you explain what internet is?
Welcome.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Indirect Message. I wanted to try something slightly different today, and perhaps going forward, which is a very open-ended conversation. So far, a lot of my interviews, I've really tried to keep things on topic, to steer the ship a little bit more, and I think of that as sort of like an old habit from YouTube. But in the conversations that are coming up here soon, I want to make space for people to talk about what's on their minds in the moment without pressure to fit under a specific topic. So, let's give it a spin. Joining me today is Arielle Scarcella. She is an LGBT YouTuber and a lesbian influencer. She's also an old friend of mine from YouTube land. Arielle has had an interesting journey from sex ed on YouTube to the center of the culture wars online. Her journey and experience kind of resonates with me. In some ways, I feel like what people maybe suspected me of at some point actually happened to Arielle. Her political views and her content became noticeably more conservative. And because of that, she's a somewhat controversial voice on YouTube. But to me, she's one of the few that hasn't lost herself, and she continues to speak authentically from the heart. Now, before we dive in here, a couple of things. First, content warning, trigger warning. I don't know what it's called now. But there is a lot of frank discussion of sensitive gender and sexuality issues in this episode. Second, I want to talk about the term woke, which comes up several times in our conversation. As I was editing the episode, I realized, we actually never defined what we're talking about here. And as you know, I'm all about defining your terms. There's some debate about the term woke and what it means, and different groups of people use it differently. I think initially woke referred to people with a deeper understanding of social issues. People who go beyond the textbooks, who think critically about the history and context of today's social problems. But like all language, the term is evolving. To many people, woke refers to a particular type of social justice activism. You probably know the kind, especially if you spend any time online. I'm going to attempt to describe it. Self-righteous, hypercritical, alarmingly dogmatic. I'm an ex-Mormon, and to me, wokeness looks a lot like religion, with all its own specialized jargon and evangelizing to spread the good word. Unfortunately, it weaponizes shame and threatens damnation in its attempts to do that. Another key feature of this, to me, is that wokeness positions arguments in black or white terms. If you're not 100% with us, then you are against us. And that makes you a bigot, or maybe even personally responsible for a tragic suicide or murder. It's all very extreme. There's no nuance, no gray area, no room for discussion. What's most ironic to me, though, is that woke activism centers the performance of social justice activism, usually on social media, over the types of meaningful action and thankless work that happens on the ground. And that's why all the woke figureheads are influencers, they're journalists, they're celebrities, they are not local community leaders and heroes. So, for the purpose of this conversation, when I say woke, or when Arielle says far left is the term she kept using, this is what we are talking about. And I wanted to be clear about that because I think most critiques of woke activism tend to come from a conservative worldview. I'm uncomfortable with the implication that often follows, that social justice activism as a whole is unnecessary or harmful. So that's not where I'm coming from here. And from what I can tell, it's not where Arielle is coming from either. All right, enough pontificating. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I'm going to introduce you as the lesbian gone alt-right Nazi.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Listen.
Are you just fully leaning into it at this point?
I mean, the words at this point mean nothing anymore. So, I'm fine with it. the word Nazi and racist and transphobe and misogynist, they have no meaning anymore. These people use them just to hate on other people that they disagree with. So
It's true, but don't you
yeah.
think used by some people it still has some meaning? Like people who don't throw it around for,
Oh yeah, of course.
I disagreed with a person on the internet, therefore genocidal.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And in that case, I would say for those people, don't call me that because that's actually not what I am. But,
Yeah.
it's become a joke. Everything is transphobic now. Everything is racist. Like cereal boxes are racist. Like, this is insane. You know what I mean? Like,
It's true, but don't you think some of that's kind of manufactured?
I think some of it is manufactured to continue the race war and race baiting, 100%.
What do you mean by race war? Like, are you referring specifically to like the everything is racist
Yeah.
trope?
Yeah, exactly. Everything is racist. Everybody's terrible. The systemic oppression and white supremacy and all white people are evil and all these things. And I don't think the majority of people actually believe that. Yeah, I think it's just propped up by the media
And internet people.
because it's easy clicks, right? And I guess you could say propaganda. Like there's propaganda behind it to make people want to pick a side, so to speak. And a lot of people, because they don't want to be labeled as such, as a racist or whatever, they're siding with people that are on the far left more, just because they don't want to be labeled as such. And I don't blame people for doing that, because it's a shitty label to have. Nobody wants to be labeled racist or transphobic or sexist or whatever. I mean, literally today, a few days ago, technically, I got a message from a sponsor of mine after I put the post up. And of course, I'm still going to get paid for the post because contracts are a thing. Somebody made a comment and they didn't like what the person had to say and they wanted me to take the post down.
This is like kind of the cancel culture stuff, I guess, where you try to go after someone's pocketbook, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, it's textbook abusive behavior.
Yeah, I saw that video you posted. I thought that it was really interesting. You and I have talked in the past about some of the abusive dynamics of being a woman on the internet.
Yeah.
But I experienced that stuff from the right wing too in the past.
Yeah, the horseshoe theory is a real thing, right? The far left and the far right are closer dynamic wise than they would like to believe, right? Which is why you and I are, I think, in my opinion, and most of my sane friends are actually more center, whether that's center left, center right, or just in the center. I think that's the only healthy place to be, really.
I consider myself pretty left.
You're not far left.
I'm not woke.
That's what I'm saying, right? We're just defining the word differently. Like woke is the far left. You are not that. You are not that at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think I see some of the merits in some of the really far lefty stuff. Like I see what you're trying to do there. I just I think the method is really flawed and obviously there's a lot of hypocrisy there. But I think it's interesting that we both kind of got into this little internet shitstorm by making sex ed videos on YouTube.
I know. Who knew sex could be so controversial? I thought everyone was supposed to enjoy sex.
I know. It does on its surface. Sex
Right.
seems like a really easy and fun topic.
Right.
At least like when I was a teenager, I was like, hell yeah, sex, great. Orgasms, let's do it. Vaginas, bring it on. But it became so fraught.
It became so political.
Yeah, what was your experience like kind of, starting out doing sex ed and your evolution to where you're at now?
Yeah, I think you and I came to the same conclusion where it became like the people that were originally, considering us to be pioneers in our space started calling us, hateful bigots. And we were kind of like, where the hell did we go wrong? And I think a lot of it has to do with third wave feminism. And the everybody is welcome or nobody is, or nobody's welcome kind of thing. And it's like, how the hell can you be so inclusive that you're, you can't be that inclusive in sexuality or in sexual orientation.
Sexual orientation by its nature is not inclusive. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And also just being a woman, is also, in my opinion, not inclusive. There's a lot that goes into being a woman and, in society and biology. If mental is a thing, then that's a thing too, and it's everything has become so watered down. And how can you talk about a topic and make that your living? You and I are educators, right? We're trying to teach somebody something or teach the audience that's watching us something. how can you teach that to a person when it's so watered down? You don't know what the hell you're teaching them anymore. Like you have to come from a place, you know?
You have to come from a place, and you have to have a language to describe what you're talking about.
Exactly. And that language is all considered flawed these days and problematic and whatever, you know, and the language is changing every day.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is not helpful language, and I think that there's gotta be a place for us to talk about what words are useful and what's not, but on the internet, it's like every 10 minutes, we're supposed to be using different terminology, and then people are constantly angry when you can't keep up.
Keep up.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
Tumblr decided a different word was better yesterday, and I
Right.
filmed my video 3 days ago, so what am I supposed to do now?
Oh,
It's like
God.
this constant sort of chasing. That's what I felt like early on, this chasing of trying to I do wanna be inclusive in the
Yeah.
language and stuff, but I do think there's gotta be, like, some we have to be reasonable here.
It's the constant the goalpost shifting, which is also an abusive tactic. It's like you have to if you don't want to be an abusive person in that way and you want to believe that people mean well,
Mhm,
you have to allow them some leeway to make quote mistakes, you know? Because
mhm,
people can't keep up, and if people mean well, then take it at face value. They mean well. They're not trying to upset people. They're not trying to be racist or trans or whatever. They just
mhm.
might say something that, you know, is a little bit more an old school of what, you know, old school thought or way of saying things. It doesn't mean they're hateful.
So is that what got you more interested in the political side of sexuality issues?
When we talk about, you know, sexual orientation and same sex or sex based rights and same sex based rights, right? It's a direct it's directly affecting law. I'm honestly, you know, when I'm seeing, you know, trans women and who have undergone no surgery, no hormones, you know, going into women's prisons, and they're sex offenders, and who knows, they might be trans women, they might be men pretending to be trans women, but that's an issue, right? Like either way, it's an issue.
I feel like that wasn't really the conversation before, though. Like, that is what people are talking about right now, but, let's say 5 years ago.
I could say 5 years ago, people started defining the word woman differently because the word trans started meaning something different.
I think that's when it got complicated too,
Yeah.
because all of a
Hmm.
sudden you can't say the word woman,
Without
without
being
putting a
offensive.
bunch of asterisks after it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the genesis for me too. It's like, well, people got mad at me for saying male and female.
Which is a real thing. Like, hello.
Well, the problem was that then when I started saying people who have vaginas or people who have penises, that wasn't
That wasn't
correct
okay either.
either. It's just like, oh, okay, I guess I should just not talk.
That's literally
Is that what
exactly.
you're saying?
That's
Just to
exactly
be
what they're
quiet?
saying. That's exactly what they say, which is misogynistic.
I agree. There's certainly a strain of that, but I think there's also some well-intentioned people who are like, let's engage in a conversation about how to discuss these things in an inclusive way that speaks to more people's experiences rather than less. And I get that for a lot of conversations. Sometimes it's not about everyone, though. Sometimes it's just about vaginas.
Sometimes it's right. Exactly. So, like, there's, oh my God, I'm going to do this book soon. A review on this book, an Amazon book written by, I don't know, some illustrator. And it's called Girl Sex 101. And
Oh, I know the author of that.
oh Lord. Okay, so apparently there's this is my viewers that send me this, told me to review this book. Apparently there's like a big section just dedicated to women having penises and how to have sex with women penises. And it's like, okay, but like,
But I mean, you're not against trans women.
no,
Are
I'm
you
not.
against trans women calling themselves women or something?
No, I'm against. I think my problem is calling it lesbian sex when it involves penises.
Oh.
I think that's my problem because
Okay.
it's not
What
homosexual.
what do you think that people
I,
should call it?
I'm queer, I guess.
Queer.
Queer. I think because it's more encompassing of what it is.
Whereas lesbians is two vaginas. It doesn't
Two
matter. I
vaginas.
mean,
Well,
what
two.
about a
It's
trans
homo.
man?
Well, then it's queer. It's queer because it's a somebody that's on testosterone, you know, assumingly, right? But it's still But it's still homosexual. It's same sex. If we're gonna talk about sexual orientation and sexuality and sex education, you have to say that it's homosexual sex because the risks and the way you handle things are different than if somebody were a straight man that had a penis.
Yeah, the disease risk, the pregnancy
Everything.
risk, the cancer
Right.
screenings, all these things are
Correct.
related to sex. But here's my question, that means that anybody who's trans can't use the word lesbian?
In my opinion, a lesbian is somebody that is attracted to female characteristics, secondary and primary sex characteristics.
Wouldn't that be straight men?
No, well,
Too?
sorry. Somebody who is a woman. Sorry, somebody who is a woman,
Okay.
or at least presents as a woman,
Okay.
and is also into women that present as women. Secondary and primary sex characteristics.
I see what you're saying. I can also see how maybe you got thrown into this conversation about like the very specifics of sex
Right.
more aggressively than I did because you're gay.
Right. And people take us, they don't take us seriously enough as lesbians as it is. Like, we're the least, you know, we're always taken the least seriously because, rightfully so though, because women's sexuality, not sexual orientation, is more fluid than men's, generally speaking. So I understand why
You're saying
people.
this as an observation, or are you?
I think that's probably accurate. I mean, I could be wrong because maybe men's is just as fluid and they're just not going to be open about it ever.
I think there's probably a socialization element there.
I do think there's a lot more bisexual men than people would admit to themselves. But I think that's a reason why people don't take lesbians as seriously. And also just because they're like, oh, it's just two women, like they're not even sex.
Right. There's like all the homophobic tropes of yesteryear.
It's misogyny at play too. It's like considering, femininity to not be taken as seriously as, with sexuality, I guess.
And I think what underscores all of this is that this is complicated. The
Right.
interplay of sex, of sexual orientation, of identity, how you see yourself, how others see you, who you want to date, how you have sex, all of this stuff is like very complicated. And so something that strikes me as a little bit sinister about some of the sexuality conversations that are happening now is everything's skewed as bad faith. Like, is there a way for us to talk about this in a way that's sensitive? I don't know if the way we're talking about it is sensitive, but it feels like there is no way to do that when you talk about some of this stuff because people's feelings get hurt.
Right. Exactly. You nailed it. It's like, pun intended. It's like everybody's feelings are involved in this, especially when it comes to something as delicate, I guess, as identity in regards to sexual orientation.
Yeah, that's probably another thing that makes it very difficult is just the emotional aspects of this topic. It's very difficult to talk about. I mean, certainly in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people for some of my videos, that just felt like
Right.
throwing myself in the lion's den. Like, there's just not gonna, it can't work on that scale. And that's part of why I don't really talk about sex stuff anymore, even though I kind of want to. I'm still a sex nerd deep
Right.
down. You still talk about lesbian sex stuff on your channel.
I do.
Yeah. Are you still, passionate about it? Do you still feel the same drive as you did when you first started?
It's gone a different direction. Now it's become about, it's less about like, okay, like this is what lesbian sex might mean. And this is, it's more now about the specifics of it. So I try to be more specific with my words, and I try, when I talk about these, I guess, difficult topics, I try to explain why it's important to assign meaning to each word and not just be like, well, anyone can use any word that they identify with. Like, that's actually not helpful,
I feel for you in a lot of ways because I feel like people accuse you all the time of being obsessed with transgender stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And having been on your end of the camera, you're kind of forced to incorporate all of these aspects into the conversation. And so, I don't know. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess.
Oh yeah,
Is what
that's
I'm
exactly
getting
what
at
it is.
here. Although maybe some of your more recent stuff is like a little. I mean, sometimes I watch your videos and I don't believe you.
Like, which one?
I don't know. Okay, it's not that I don't believe you. I just feel like whatever the internet thinks you are is not correct. Like, and maybe there's like some dissonance between how you present yourself and who you actually are. Do you feel like there's any
I
like
think
disconnect there?
I think that I mean it is just a very small subset of my feelings at that moment, right? So of course it's going to be a disconnect because it's like,
Sure, it's
you
not
know,
a
it's not a
full
right.
picture of you. It's a
Of course.
5-minute video
It's
or
a clip,
whatever.
right. But I also do think that I'm aware that I have to kind of, like, as you said, at the beginning of the chat, like, I have to lean into what people are accusing me of, because what am I going to do? Just keep being on the defensive? I might as well stand by what I think, and people are going to be offended absolutely no matter what at this point. So I have to kind of just be a little bit more bitchy, I guess I guess is what you're looking to say. But
I
it's
guess
like,
that like, are you trying to be offensive?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just saying I'm just not censoring myself as much as I did before. I don't think it's
Okay.
helpful to censor myself anymore. And
I mean, yes, I don't think anybody should censor themselves. That's
yeah.
what I'm advocating for, but I feel like your tone has become a little bit, like, more conservative, right-wingy, I
Mhm.
guess. You know what? That's what I don't believe.
That I'm a right winger. I don't consider myself a right winger. I don't think any of my conservative friends even would call me a conservative. I think every single one of them, including friends like Sydney Watson, tell me that I'm moderate, like I'm a classic libertarian. Yeah. And I think because I do talk about some right wing talking points and I understand where people on the right are coming from, even if I might not fully agree with them, I'm going to get labeled as such, And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to label me however the hell they want, even though they tell nobody to not label anybody. They do it to me anyway.
Yeah, you
So
know what? Actually, I'm looking at your YouTube channel right now. I guess I would describe your channel not necessarily as like advertising that you're conservative or something. You are wearing a MAGA hat in one.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. That's another.
Oh,
That's
does it say gay
it.
again?
Does see
Okay, well, you're a
see.
troll. So
Yeah,
there's
I mean, yeah, a
that.
little bit. Yeah,
You know that people are gonna think that's a MAGA hat
I
unless they
agree.
squint and
Well,
zoom in.
then that's HRC's fault for selling that hat. It's not my fault.
Oh, you got it from HRC. How funny is that?
Yeah,
Wow. So they're
exactly.
leaning into it too.
Exactly. See,
Um
a lot of misinformation about me out there.
Well, okay, I don't think it's misinformation, I think it's branding. You're
Oh yeah, it's
branding
branding
yourself a
too.
little bit more conservative than you used to. Although when I look at this, I actually see more of a gender critical lens. But you know what?
Yes.
I think a lot of people still don't know what gender critical is. There's a lot of like confusion about the different factions of feminists. And so
Hmm.
they see anti woke stuff and they see gender critical stuff
And they assume
as
conservative.
conservative,
Correct.
which there are some that are conservative. Yeah.
Exactly.
But there are also a lot that are liberal
Right.
too.
Right.
So maybe there's like a little bit of yeah, we don't have the right
We don't have the
language.
right language to explain somebody
We
like
don't have
me, but
shared language to
right.
describe what things are, and that is important. I feel like
Yeah.
that is some of the confusion around who you are, what you believe. It's like people associate you with the word conservative now, and so,
Right.
opportunistic YouTube ecosystem people who kind of feed that machine, um, they portray you as super conservative, right wing, far right, whatever, alt right, which is totally, totally
Incorrect.
inaccurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Maybe anti woke.
I
I
would
don't
say
know.
I would say anti woke.
I don't like defining things against
It's not
something.
healthy. Yeah, pro do the work. Pro empowerment, instead of being pro victimhood. I'm pro empowerment. Pro do the work. Get your shit together. Stop blaming everybody else for your fucking problems. That's where I'm at. It's changing as time goes on. I think more and more people are shifting to the right a little bit. Not that doesn't mean they're becoming conservatives. That just means they're shifting like I did, because they're sick and tired of people not listening to them. I think that's where a lot of people start changing their minds, when they're propping up all these oppressed groups, and then now we're also an oppressed group, and we're not being heard. Because we're not disabled, or because we're not black, or because we're not whatever. And it gets frustrating after a while.
I don't know if intersectionality as a theory said this is the new power structure, But that's certainly what happened. Like, the more oppressed identities you have, the more power you have. The more
Mhm.
privileged identities you have, the less power you have or
Right.
should have. And that's just a new hierarchy, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely a pyramid. How is that any different than what we're doing already? Than what they're claiming they hate?
Something that has really changed for me, like questioning of a lot of this stuff, is that I think intersectionality doesn't adequately address class.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think I agree with that, and I also want to one up you and say I think when people talk about race, they're more likely actually talking about class as well.
Beside the maybe some of the issues they have with intersectionality or
Mhm.
the gender and sexuality stuff, what is your ideal vision of a liberal coalition?
I just wish that they were less combative.
That's
And
internet though, isn't it?
no,
Or is it not?
it doesn't. Does it have to be though?
I feel like people are combative online, and in real life, you meet some assholes for sure,
Right.
but less common.
Yeah.
So that feels internety to me.
Yeah, I definitely think that's my job, right? That's our job. It's constantly in my face. A better world for me at the moment, I just feel like it would look more like people just agreeing to disagree, honestly. Not trying to cancel people, accepting that people are at different stages in their growth and their understanding of people being different or thinking different. And people seeing how hypocritical it is when when they have no other arguments, they just they revert to calling names and labeling people. And it's like I said, it's hypocritical because that's what they're called. They say that they're fighting against it. I wish that they could see how hypocritical the movement has become.
People have a hard time looking at themselves.
Introspection, yeah.
We all do.
Right.
Do you look at yourself? Do you think about, this is who I am and this is what I'm putting into the world and this is what I like and this is what I don't like?
I do. We could talk about astrology. That's just a Cancerian thing. We're always like nitpicky with ourselves, but we're neurotic. But
well, I don't believe in that shit.
I know
So
you
speak my
don't.
language.
I know you don't. But listen, you and your boyfriend are a perfect match astrology wise. So whatever.
What? A Gemini and a Libra?
Libra Gemini. Yes, absolutely. Look it up. Anyway, so
all right.
it is. Yeah, when I look at myself, I look at, am I empowering people or am I allowing people to victimize themselves more? Am I putting people, am I helping people see themselves for who they are? I do my best, I'm going to say what I have to say, but if somebody is upset by something, I do take it to heart. If I know the person isn't a crazy woke person. If it's a crazy woke person, in my opinion, there's no reasoning with them. But if I said something that could have
outraged,
right? But if I said something, like friends of mine, of course, like my friend, he won't say it publicly, but he agrees with me on a lot of stances. And at the same time, he's like, "You could have said this better," and I'm like, "Okay, you're right. I could have said that better." And that's in those situations, like, yeah, I'm still learning. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No,
so it depends on where it's coming from. It depends on where the criticism is coming from.
Yeah. And something that I've noticed, sometimes the criticism accuses you of not listening. And I actually think you're a very good listener. But
Thank you.
like you just said, I think that you choose who to listen to. And
Right.
I think that's actually really important because on the internet, anyone can say anything to you. If you
Right.
don't have any sort of selection about
Right.
whose opinion or
Matters.
feedback, what feedback matters to you, you're gonna just
You're not
you're
gonna
be
you're not a
destroyed.
stable person. Yeah, you're not even a person.
I have been through that. It'll eat you from the inside out. That's not what we should be encouraging girls who are talking on the internet about things that matter to them. Like, we shouldn't be saying, you need to constantly be, checking yourself, constantly monitoring yourself.
Yeah, check your cis women privilege and shut up.
I mean, maybe like think about your privilege, but don't just constantly be like worried about what everyone on the internet's saying to you.
Right.
Have you ever regretted something that you said or did, like that you had serious regrets about?
No, I wouldn't say that because I'm continuously
serious
making
regrets.
content. No, because and I'll say this because I have no serious regrets because I'm continuously posting content. So even if I do have a regret about something, I make an updated video about why I regretted saying it a certain way in the past. So it's showing the growth, and I don't regret showing growth. I think it's important to show that aspect of humanity. But yeah, I'm saying exactly what I feel and what I truly believe. And people are like, oh, the grift money. I'm like, really? Where is it? Really?
Well, the OnlyFans grift. That's your
Oh
grift
yeah,
now.
yeah. But that, you know what? Let me tell you something. People would think that it's all men on there. It's like half women.
Well, you're gay. I would hope there are some
But
women.
how is that a grift then? How is that a grift? Because people are like, oh, your new male audience, da da da. And I'm like, my 3 biggest supporters are women, but thanks. On OnlyFans. Yeah.
I feel like if someone doesn't like what you do online,
that's what they should. They
you
throw the
get
word.
called a grifter.
Exactly. They just throw the word out there.
So how is OnlyFans for you?
It's great. I love it. Honestly.
Are you making $1 million a month like Trisha Paytas?
Is she making that much money? Holy
Yeah.
shit. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, actually. No, I'm not making that much money. I'm making good money though. And I'm not selling myself short, in my opinion. And it's more.
So what are you doing
It's
on
exploratory.
there? What are you exploring?
Permission for me to send you some of my pictures. I'll send you some to look at. But it's more exploratory and body positivity. Than like explicit. Like that's never been me. It's never will be me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are enjoying me view myself as beautiful, to be honest.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like so much of how we view sexuality in the 21st century is like super over the top. It's like very extreme.
Which I participated in. I participated in it.
Like what? Hardcore porn?
No, like the over the top stuff. Like I talk about squirting and like on my channel I'm talking about. That's what I mean.
That's not over the top to me. I'm referring to open up your asshole and show the world.
No. Okay, so we have different different uses for that word too, for over the top.
Yeah, I mean, squirting is just a thing some people do. I don't think that's over the top.
No, I don't think so either.
I find it more sexy when some things are left unsaid.
100%.
You know, when there's a little room. I'm not talking about like, okay, you need to cover everything but your ankles situation. I guess I just find a lot of hardcore porn stuff now not that
enticing.
It's like awkward. I feel uncomfortable.
No, I agree with you. And some people might find it sexy, but I'm on your page. I want to make content that makes me feel sexy. And that type of content that you're talking about wouldn't. So I don't do it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it won't make other people feel sexy. So I don't want to be a hater on there. It's funny when I try to go on dates with somebody, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, there must be so many girls in your DMs," and it's like, actually, it's just a bunch of people that are fed up with the bullshit that are afraid to talk about the fact that they agree with me, and they'll post about it in their on their secret accounts, or they'll follow me on their secret accounts, like every day, at least 10, 15 messages. 10, 15 messages per day, which is for me a lot because I don't have that many followers like on Instagram or something.
Okay, let's out all these people. Who are they?
I could a lot of other LGBT YouTubers, to be honest.
Whoa,
yep.
Dude.
Yep.
There's like this collective self-censorship happening.
Yep.
People are scared.
Yep.
Tying your income to people's validation.
Yep, exactly. Is unhealthy.
It's not it's not a great dynamic.
It's a terrible dynamic, yeah.
And I think that's why so many people don't actually say what they think or act. They're two different people online and off. Like, you know, earlier we were talking about maybe your online persona versus the real you. I don't think there's a huge difference between the two. Like, you're a little more presenty or maybe even a little more feisty on your YouTube videos.
Yeah, of course.
Than I find you in person.
Of course.
But I know some people on YouTube who just completely misrepresent who they are.
Oh, 100%.
It's like it's like they're acting.
Oh, it's sociopathic. Yeah.
Yeah, and millions of people are buying into this, and I'm just like, wow, the internet is really.
It's scary.
It's really something. So, like, what is your interactions like with your male fans on? You said you have male and female fans on there.
I mean, I treat them both the same. I treat them both the same. I treat them like people that want me. And that's it. Like, it's just,
Can we get into the weeds with this? Because I'm curious. Like, do you
Yes.
flirt with them? Like, what is the relationship like?
I can't say that on air.
You're not going to tell me if you flirt with people?
I mean, sometimes I do. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I do.
Do you know what they look like?
Some of them, yeah, most of them. Some of them have like they'll send me like pictures of them. Actually, interestingly enough, the more you would think like people like send me dick pics every 5 minutes. It's very rare that I get that. The men,
Well, they know you're
are
gay.
very respectful. Yeah, they're very respectful.
And they're respectful.
They are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that might be like kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, like
you have fun with
something
it?
that you're like, yeah, why not? I'll just send out a message. I send out a message every day, like, hope you like this, whatever, and they'll send me, oh, you look awesome, you look hi, whatever. And the girls, tip me, whatever, and everyone's been really. I don't think I've had many problems. I think I've had one issue with one person who was every 5 minutes asking for free content, and I just blocked him, like, entitled little prick, like, stop. Just annoying. And he was a young kid, like 20 years old, and I'm like, literally actually a kid living in his mom's basement type of thing.
Oof.
Yeah, like that's like one out of 1,000 people that have checked out my stuff. But it's generally like, you have to remember that you get what you pay for kind of thing. The people that have the money to pay for these kind of things, or that are willing to pay for these kind of things, are generally bigger supporters of yours. So they will be likely to respect you more, I think. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I wonder about like this idea that a sort of uncritical examination of the slogan "sex work is work." Like, with OnlyFans being so pervasive and young people growing up on the internet, like, what do you think about encouraging people to participate, encouraging, let's say, teenage girls to participate in something like OnlyFans when they're old enough?
I don't have a strong opinion on it, because I do believe that, like, my body, my choice. But how do I say this? I don't know if it would be an ideal career choice. Not that it's not fun, not that it's not, good money, and not that it hasn't brought many opportunities. I don't think it would be an ideal sole career choice. Does that make sense? Because to me, it doesn't get boring. But if I wasn't doing other things, like making important videos on topics that on things that I want to change about the world, I would feel a little vapid. Or to anybody that's doing that kind of work, I would say, what else do you have to offer besides your beauty? Because that doesn't last a long time, and that's also probably not what your soul is here to do. I got really spiritual all of a sudden, but that's the truth, Like, what else do you have to offer the world?
No, I fully agree with that. And actually, I guess the reasons why I feel some reservation about OnlyFans is the same reason I feel reservations about being an influencer, especially the influencers that make it their job to be pretty and be the most inoffensive milquetoast.
Like someone that just shows up at the straight person that shows up at the gay pride parade with the pride flag, but doesn't actually like say like what they think about gays, or what they think the word gay is, or like anything. They just show up. Yeah.
It's a branding choice.
100%.
Yeah, like they're living their whole life and their relationships through the lens of what's good for my brand.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some people, I remember a few years ago, there were a few straight YouTubers that were getting shit from the gay community. And I actually agreed with this in hindsight, because what the gay community started to say is, listen, like, we appreciate that you're, standing up for gay rights, even if you're not going into detail about it. But it was like during Pride Month, a lot of them were taking on branding opportunities.
Oh.
Yeah. And they were taking it away from gay people. So to me, that would be the same as myself if I agreed with Black Lives Matter, the organization, which I don't. If I did agree, the organization, absolutely not.
Okay, finish your thought. We'll go back to that.
Let's say if I was in a Black History Month, February's coming along, and damn well, like, all the brands like Old Navy and whatever the hell, Nike, they're all having something for Black History Month. They all have something for Gay Pride Month. So like, that's like me going out and being like, Happy Black History Month, and I'm like wearing Nikes.
Yeah.
Like, that's shit. Like, stop
Yeah,
stop
I see what
taking
you're
it
saying.
away. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yes, I totally see what you're saying. I'm curious, what you think then, in light of that belief of yours, what you think about the argument that like straight people shouldn't play LGBT people on in movies and stuff.
I don't think that's true. I think they should. I think
So
anybody should be able to play any role if they're good enough at it.
so what's the difference for you between you shouldn't take a Nike brand deal and Black History
Because
Month?
it's acting.
Mm.
Because it's acting and because
I do think acting is different than being an influencer. But do you feel some sympathy then for the argument that, like, there's so few trans roles and this story is written about a trans person and it's about celebrating us.
I
Why is it
understand
being
that.
given to a straight white guy?
I understand that, but at the same time, then should a trans person only be able to play trans people? Like, is that's basically the argument that they're giving, right? And I don't think that's good either.
I don't know if that is the argument that's being made. It's like we should be able to tell our stories, but I think there is probably some logical inconsistency
That's all I'm trying to say.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's coming from the place of, look, there's limited opportunities, there's limited money here. This
Mhm.
is a place for us to tell our story during Pride Month or in this movie or in
Mhm.
Black History Month. Let us be the ones to tell that story, you know?
Mhm.
I ask because I see both sides, the merits of both sides of that argument, you know?
No, I do too. I see both sides.
If I was casting a show about a trans person, I would probably cast a trans person, but I can also see a situation where maybe there's an amazing actor who's really good in this role who isn't trans, and they're an actor, and that's what they're there to do, is to act.
Right. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it makes sense on both sides. Like, I understand the argument on both sides. I tend to be like, everybody should just be able to play a certain role if they're the best person for that role, you know?
Yeah, but for influencers, it's a little different because you're not acting,
Right, because exactly, you're not acting, you're actually saying this is my community
and this is my brand.
and this is my brand, and it's like, it is different. I feel like it is very different.
Yeah, no, it is different. I see some overlaps there
No,
between those two
there's some,
debates.
but
So with Black Lives Matter, then you said you fully support the cause, but not the organization. I'll just be right up front. I don't know a ton about the actual organization.
that's
What do you
why.
what do you dislike
That's why
about
you
it?
don't like. That's why you don't know. I mean, well, just recently, the person. Did you see the news articles about the one of the founders buying like $4 million houses or whatever, $4 million
I
in
did
house?
see that.
So that's a problem, and it's all in white neighborhoods, and Breonna Taylor's.
Maybe some hypocrisy there.
Oh my God! You have to look into the organization. It's a Marxist organization, like, actually, I almost said critically acclaimed. it's talking about acting
Critically
again.
acclaimed
Critically
Marxist
acclaimed Marxist
organization.
organization. Yeah, but they're like,
Marxist how? Like, are
they
you talking
they
about the abolish the police stuff?
that stuff, and just the way they view government and the way they view how to spread wealth, amongst people. Meanwhile, if they really believe that, would you be buying $1 million houses and calling it your money and not people's money?
I guess with like your personal transformation, maybe even not a transformation, but just kind of coming into your own. Do you still have friends who are kind of woke lefty people?
No friends that are lefties, that are like far lefties, which is why I don't consider you a far lefty, because we're still friends. I think that I'm being honest. That's how I know. Like, if you're still my friend, you're not a far lefty. Like, you're not.
Right, because part of the far lefty belief system is that you shouldn't be friends with people who disagree with you.
It's an emotional abusive tactic, like psychology, relationship abuse 101. If I don't like your friends, you can't be friends with them, and they seclude you and separate you, and then they control you. I had that happen with my first girlfriend. She didn't like any of my friends for a number of reasons. Who the hell knows at this point? I don't remember. It was 10 years ago, longer than that. And they basically get you in a corner, and then when something bad happens, you have no friends to reach out to.
Yeah,
And
I definitely felt that strongly. Like when I started dating Chris, like telling you who you can and can't date, who you can and can't talk to. There are people that are going to give me shit for talking to you. It's like, fuck off. You did not run my life.
Yeah, but that's abuse. Yeah.
Let's say there's theoretically someone who does, subscribe to a more woke ideology, but doesn't think that we have to, destroy friendships with people who we don't fully agree with.
I'd be happy to be friends with them.
Yeah.
I would. I really would, because I don't judge a person based on where they're at this moment in their life. As long as they're not going to judge me where I'm at this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has different ways of growing, I would say on like why it's important to define words. I have strong disagreements with friends on that, because a lot of my friends are just as spiritual as I am. So they'll kind of be like free hippies. Oh, we can call anyone what they want and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, in theory, that's great. But, it's like that's not how
That's
the
like a
world
staple of
works.
postmodern thought, right? So we're going to
Right.
break down the words and the categories into smaller and smaller categories until they don't exist anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, but I don't know if it's still applicable, is how to maintain friendships and relationships with people who are very different.
It depends on if it's what they're offering into your life. Like, what are you offering me?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. True love is supposed to be unconditional, but that's not actually accurate in my opinion, because then you would love everybody. I think love is conditional. And I think that's fair, because you have to be selfish sometimes and say, like, is this person offering more love or more introspection or more money or, more thought-provoking conversations in my life? Are they making me feel bad about myself? What's the point of having them in my life if they're doing none of the above or all of the above,
So it's about like what they bring to the table emotionally.
Well, yeah, because mentally, like, I have very thick skin, but if you're consistently trying to make me feel like shit, I'm not here for that. I'm not going to accept myself for that anymore,
I fully agree with the advice you're giving. I'm just like, oh, that's less optimistic than I was hoping for.
Sorry. Well, you have to be realistic, right? You have to be realistic.
I know. I mean, I'm not like, let's all play kumbaya. It's like, I
Right.
know that people have disagreements. Not every relationship's for you, but I feel like the world's a little bit broken. I feel like people break off relationships so fast, and I had a lot of good friends on the internet who just kind of like, we had built relationships over years and they just never spoke to me again. And part of me just doesn't want that to be a thing. I wish it wasn't, but maybe that's the way it is now. I don't know.
I know. You're like, you want more love. And I think the thing is
I
that
want people to see each other, to try to see each other, try harder.
I know. I think there is more love. I think it's just one of my tattoos. I only have like 2 of them, but my second tattoo says, wishing you the best of doorways. And my dad wrote that in my high school yearbook. And to me, what that means is stop looking at the doors that are closed. You keep trying to open that door, but they closed it and you can't open it because they want it to be closed. It's like, it only takes one person to end the relationship type of thing,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Look at the other doors. There's plenty of love with other doors that are open. And so there is plenty of love out there. It's just going to be from other people sometimes. And that's okay. So that's the optimism behind it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's true.
What is it? Look at the doorways?
Wishing you the best of doorways.
Wishing you the best of doorways. All right, my dears. Thank you for your ears and your open minds. I'll see you next time.